What's up, Seth Ferranti here, Gorilla Convict. When I first got to prison, I was writing, but I was doing stuff like on the prison yard. I worked in rec when I first got to SEI Manchester in 1993, and I had a couple of my homeboys from Virginia, and they worked in the rec department, and they used to help to run the intramural sport leagues. So they would keep the stats, do the schedules, different stuff like that. So they got me a job with them, and I was keeping the stats, you know, doing the books for softball and basketball and stuff like that. And I mean, it was a bad job, but I found it kind of boring. So I started doing like little newsletters for the sports leagues. You know, I would write about, you know, the exciting games, the people that were playing good. And that's what I did for my first 6 years in prison. That was really my first experience writing. Around the same time, I started taking college classes, you know, like around 94. And I was taking mostly writing classes. I really enjoyed writing. I was taking creative writing. I was taking, you know, article writing classes, journalism classes. Eventually, you know, I started pitching stuff to articles. I would get a bunch of magazines. I always got a bunch of magazines. I love to read. I would get the address for the magazine. I would look, and I would get like one of the editors, you know, not necessarily the top editor, but the article editor or the editors of the little sections. And I would write them. I would write them a query letter. I learned in the article writing class how to write query letters. So I would basically pitch an idea. The first pieces I wrote were in Slam magazine. You know, I'd pitch them some articles on prison basketball players. And I wrote about Ron Jordan, who was a phenomenal basketball player when I was in Fort Dix. Also at the same time I was in Fort Dix, and I was writing all the little sports papers and stuff, and some dudes from Harlem, you know, they saw the stuff I was writing about their homeboy Ron Jordan. They came up to me and they showed me this magazine that their homeboy from Harlem, Kevin Childs, for him, called Don Diva. But I started writing for them because some of the dudes from Harlem came to me and they saw what I was doing, and they were like, man, you're a good writer, you should start writing for this magazine. So I pitched them some ideas, and I started writing for them. I did a column for Vice called I'm Busted, where basically I could write what I wanted, like 1,500, 2,000 words. I wrote about a lot of prison stuff. You know, I wrote articles like diesel therapy, you know, about getting an education in prison, all the different things that I was going through, that I was experiencing. See, I wrote for Vice. I had to get into something because I wasn't trying to go the route, like get in a prison gang and get into all the violence and the drugs and just, you know, be in the mix and the politics. You know, I like to think I'm a smarter dude than that, so I wasn't trying to, you know, move down to the level of most of the stuff that was happening in prison. I was trying to rise above everything so that I had a future. You know, I was preparing for my future for real.